I find it hard to believe that we are truly discussing this at this moment. But the Diddy scandal is here, just when you expected it to be. Has hit rock bottom, the floor cracks open, and there's another level underneath, literally, because Cassie Ventura just flipped the script on everything with a claim that honestly feels ripped straight from a Hollywood thriller. Secret tunnels, hidden chambers, mysterious passageways built into the bones of Diddy's mansion. You're telling me this man allegedly had entire underground networks under his estate, and no one knew until now? That's not just suspicious, that's straight up terrifying testimony. From Cassie Ventura, 8 months pregnant, and testified about her decades-long relationship with Shaw. But what really hits me is the emotional fallout. It's not just about the tunnels, it's about the silence breaking. It's about Diddy's own daughters, Delilah and Jessie, publicly backing away from him and quietly aligning themselves with Cassie. That kind of move doesn't happen unless something deeply personal snaps, and if even his daughters are choosing the side of the woman he's accused of hurting, that says everything. The optics are brutal, the message is loud. This breakup in the family wasn't unexpected. Sandra claimed that Mr. Combs had severe mood swings and would follow her around, sending staff to find her if he wasn't happy with where she was or who she was with. I'm sorry, but who digs underground tunnels in a mansion unless they're trying to hide something unusual, not eccentric, that's planned? And when Cassie brought this up in court, I nearly dropped my phone, because if these tunnels are real and sound far too detailed to be made up, we're discussing a setup intended for concealment. Cassie Ventura entered the forum today wearing a tight brown dress that flaunted her most recent stage of pregnancy. The defense actually hoped that the jury wouldn't notice her because they believed that she was showing up. Let's think about this. Cassie didn't just mention a creepy basement or some dusty wine cellar. Instead, she described full-on hidden passageways that were allegedly used to move people and things without anyone outside knowing. That kind of architecture doesn't just happen that way. That's the kind of layout you commission from blueprints with a purpose. And that purpose is definitely not family fun night. The more I imagine it, the worse it gets, but it gets okay, because that was a major theme of her testimony. This is what truly irritates me. What was happening down there? Why was it kept so hidden? Why was it never brought up before? We now know that Cassie was correct to be with Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend while she lived there. She likely witnessed things and felt uneasy walking through the corridors. Ventura, Cassie in graphic detail. We will describe a little bit about what has been playing out in just a moment, but to set the scene on what has happened, imagine the fear of realizing your partner has an entire hidden world under your feet. That's not just scary, it's unthinkable. And let's be honest, we've seen power used for manipulation in this industry before, but this is another level. It paints a picture of someone who planned ahead, who went out of their way to create a world nobody else could access unless he wanted them to. It's the ultimate control move. And it makes you wonder what kind of person builds a tunnel when they already own the whole mansion. Abusiveness in their relationship, and the sexual proclivities that he introduced her to, like voyeurism and something that he called freak off. He made the wrong face if he would hit her in the face. You can also see the government starting to try to lay out this racketeering scheme that they're accusing him of, where they say that he was running his company as a criminal enterprise. I don't care how famous, rich, or untouchable you are, once you've got hidden tunnels in your house, and people start testifying about what went on in them, you're no longer just a celebrity, you're a walking mystery novel, and the public is now flipping through every chapter looking for blood on the walls. And guess what happens is, if people go into a trial believing the firepower on the prosecution is so strong, I mean, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, it's a 95 that it's so strong, but it goes down to an 88 that helps the defense, because everybody goes in thinking, well, they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and all of a sudden none of it's there. I think that actually helps the defense. This is just the beginning. I don't think people are grasping just how huge this part is, because when your own daughters can't sit through your trial without walking out, that's not just a sign of emotional distress. That's a scream for distance. Delilah and Jessie aren't toddlers anymore. They're teenagers, old enough to understand exactly what's being said in that courtroom and smart enough to know what walking out actually communicates. And let's be honest, kids in high-profile families are usually taught to stay quiet, smile for cameras, and never disrupt the image. So for them to physically remove themselves from that courtroom during Cassie's testimony, that's not a fluke, that's a choice. And not just any choice, a public intentional signal that whatever they were hearing shook them to their core. And now comes the real kicker, they're reportedly showing support for Cassie. You can't make that up. When the children of the accused start gravitating toward the person making the accusations, you know there's been a serious shift in the dynamic behind closed doors. That's not we're unsure what to believe, that's we believe her more than we believe you. This isn't some PR stunt or teenage rebellion. This is a fracture. And to me it feels like the beginning of a bigger unraveling, because if your own flesh and blood starts to pull away, it's only a matter of time before the whole image starts to collapse. What Delilah and Jessie did wasn't dramatic, it was necessary. And it speaks volumes without them needing to say a single word. Let's just say it plainly, Cassie is being vindicated in real time, not just by the legal process, but by the public, by the media, and most importantly by the people closest to Diddy. And let's give credit where it's due. This woman stood in front of the world and laid everything bare. She didn't flinch, she didn't sugarcoat, she spoke her truth in a courtroom filled with cameras, reporters, lawyers, and possibly people hoping she'd crack. But she didn't, and standing right beside her through all of it, her husband Alex Fine. And I have to say, watching a man show up for his wife so unwaveringly, especially under this much pressure, has been one of the few bright spots in this whole dark mess. He didn't just issue some PR tweet, he's been in the courtroom, he's been protecting her peace. That's real support, that's what strength looks like in 2025, and the contrast between him and Diddy couldn't be louder. The public's reaction has been a passionate rally behind her, as evidenced by the comments and reposts. People are sick of billionaires believing they are untouchable, and for once, it seems like the world isn't allowing money to overshadow the truth. People are reposting her testimonies that highlight the emotional harm. We've seen women come forward for years only to be questioned, rejected, or dissected. But this time Cassie isn't alone. She has the support, the strength, and the receipts to stand tall. And that terrifies Diddy more than anything. Let's talk about the tunnels because, to be honest, I can't stop thinking about them. They're not just analyzing every word for drama, but because they believe her. This is a cultural moment rather than just sympathy. There are a lot of theories circulating right now, and some of them make a lot of sense. What kind of person has tunnels built into their home? This isn't normal, quirky, or extravagant. Rather, it's calculated, strategic, and unsettling. You don't spend that much money to create hidden corridors unless you're trying to keep something or someone out of the light. The tunnels were supposedly used to move individuals in and out of the estate without anybody noticing, while others think they were escape routes or were made to completely control who could enter and exit different areas of the estate for whatever purpose. None of it seems innocent, and let me be clear, no matter how wealthy or powerful you are, you don't get to build a maze beneath your house and then act shocked when people ask why, especially when your name is already associated with some of the most upsetting court proceedings of the year. The tunnel secrecy only serves to strengthen the case because it paints a picture of someone who needed that level of privacy because they knew deep down that what they were doing couldn't withstand sunlight. The most terrifying thing is that we still don't know the full extent of what those tunnels were used for, and that uncertainty is worse than any verified facts because even if Cassie discovered some truth down there, what else is still hidden? Let's not sugarcoat it. For decades, this man was hailed like a king, the model for a mogul status, music, fashion, and business. He had it all, but none of that matters anymore because the moment the accusations surfaced and the testimonies began to pour in, everything he built started to rot from the inside out. And this is the part that, in my opinion, really seals the deal. His own daughters have begun to distance themselves, which is not only a PR nightmare, but also a personal collapse. When the people closest to you begin to leave, what does that say about what they've witnessed behind closed doors? When the very family you boasted about in magazine covers and holiday photos begins to quietly support the woman accusing you in federal court, that's legacy-ending stuff. All those awards, those records,